Book of the Week 54, Creating Your Best Life by Carolyn Adams Miller and Dr. Michael B. Frisch. So this book was a good overview. Basically, it talks a lot about obviously creating your best life, creating goals, creating bucket lists around what you want to accomplish in your life. And this one has a lot of different methodologies. I'll just kind of look through and give you the best of what I had notes-wise about this book. A lot of different people that are on my reading lists, like Todd Kashdan, Deepak Chopra, Mehmet Oz, Ed Diener, and some other people, they have pretty similar philosophies on a lot of this stuff. So there was a little bit of overlap in the stuff that I've been reading, but that's good. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi and his concept of flow was discussed in here as well. They talk about basically setting up your life, how to have a happy life, how money falls into that equation, how to become happy. They have the big four, they call them. Happy people they have these four qualities of optimism, self-confidence, extroversion, and self-efficacy. And they kind of go into self-efficacy, how to build it, having role models, having a cheerleader, managing stress appropriately, having mastery experiences, so having some wins that allow us to redefine who we are. So this book is a really nice book for anybody that's wanting to kind of revamp their lives or just check in, take an inventory of where they are and then where they want to be. So it's a pretty encompassing book. There was a lot of overlap, again, like I said, although I do quite a bit of reading in this area. But it's really good for just kind of, seeing where you're at in your life and seeing if things that you're doing are in line with what would make you happy, and if those are the kinds of things that you want long term. It helps to categorize your life into some different areas. They have some exercises for that. They actually do have a nice little array of exercises in the back of the book that correlate with kind of the book and how it flows. So you'll kind of do some reading, and then there'll be an exercise about that particular section, which is nice. So it talks about different areas of your life, setting up vision boards, scrapbooking even. So it helps when you kind of make some of this stuff that you want in the future more real now. So just cutting out pictures of things and kind of touching it, or even going out around town and looking at an object or touching it, it just kind of makes it more real in your mind. So that stuff helps too, and they just have a little bit of information about that in the book as well. And then they have some information about willpower, self-control, building habits, so stuff that can help you to achieve your life list, your bucket lists on here. And so they did have a nice proven research-tested happiness boosters. So they have 8 of them. Number 1 is journaling. Number 2 is expressing gratitude. Number 3 is physical exercise. Number 4 is volunteer work and altruistic behavior. Number 5 is savoring happy memories. There's a great book by a gentleman, it's called Hardwiring Happiness, which is all about savoring the happy memories and how the brain likes to, I think his catchphrase is, the brain is Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for the good experiences. So we have to kind of rewire our brain and a simple exercise that you can do is just kind of throughout the day, if you have a positive experience, let it really sink in and just don't move on to the next thought or the next um, interaction or what have you, until you kind of just let it sink in and just kind of review it again for anywhere between 5 and 20, 30 seconds even. So what you're doing is just kind of firing different neural circuitry and just letting those pathways in the brain grow. So neurons that fire together wire together. So if you never fire those neurons, they won't really grow and develop. It's kind of like building a road. You have to build a wider and wider road so that more traffic can go through faster and faster. So the same kind of thing with thoughts and thought patterns, and then building habits, the same kind of thing happens there. It just becomes automatic. So hardwiring happiness becomes somewhat automatic as well, depending on how often you do it. So that kind of thing helps, and they have a lot of that in the book. And it's kind of cool. They have each major idea is kind of backed up by some research, and they have some little blips in there without getting too research based or dry, which helps. So Savoring Happy Memories is definitely a good one. Proven Booster 6 is Forgiving. That's definitely huge. 7 is Applying Your Strengths, and 8 would be Meditation. So again, they just go through intrinsic versus extrinsic motivations, the state of flow, again, like I was talking about. There's some great research being done, the Flow Genome Project, about that. Those guys are kind of piggybacking off of Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. It's a long one, kind of a confusing name to say, but his research is pretty cool. So they're piggybacking off of flow, and they're creating these dojos around, like these adult playgrounds that help you to get into that state of flow where you kind of forget time and where you are, and you're just completely absorbed in whatever activity you're doing, which is pretty cool. And they've understood through research and through some studies that you become, I think, about 400 or 500% more effective when you're in a state of flow. So that would be like working 1 day a week and getting the results of if you were working 5 days a week, something like that. So it's pretty important and pretty effective if you can get in there into that state. So obviously nutrition helps a big part of that, setting your body up for that, and then also setting up the environment and then your life as well around things that you enjoy doing. So that stuff all helps tremendously. They don't get into nutrition at all in the book, but obviously I do quite a bit. So they're just kind of going over some other stuff in here. Again, mind maps, vision boards, willpower. They talk about how to get more willpower. Hiding temptations will be one of those, so that you're not tempted. You're not, even if you don't take the opportunity to engage in whatever distraction or bad habit or something you're trying to avoid, even if you refuse that, just the act of refusing it will use up your willpower. So having something completely out of sight and hopefully out of mind will help you to sustain and retain your willpower. Following a regular exercise program helps out with that. Making yourself smile definitely helps with willpower. So they're saying eating a small amount of sugar also helps. I don't think I would agree with that. The tests were only around kind of the immediate future of that, so that would not be a good strategy in the long run. I would say the better strategy would be balancing out your blood sugar on a more regular basis so that you don't have dips in blood sugar, getting hypoglycemic, or things of that nature, which would definitely deplete willpower. So just having a sustained level of blood sugar, eating balanced, healthy meals definitely helps with that. So you don't have to rely on sugar to pick you back up, which I'm sure was happening in these studies. Getting rid of clutter definitely helps as well. They talk about grit as well, and what that means and what it takes to become gritty, become resilient, persistent, defining those terms. They talk about your surroundings, so not just the environment that's around you, but also the people that are around you, and things like that. Talking about other people do matter quite a bit in your success and long-term happiness. So all in all, there's definitely oh, I guess I should mention they have a section here about triggers, which are definitely huge. So that kind of goes along the lines of environment and setting up your environment. Like I'll have post-it notes around the house, just kind of reminding me, breathe, or whatever I want to focus on. Some of my goals, just kind of post them up, and then that way, if I'm just milling around throughout the day in my house, or wherever I am in their car, you can just set up these little small reminders that'll just trigger your mind to think about the things that you want in your life. That stuff definitely helps. It sounds kind of quirky or kind of weird, but it definitely helps to just reset your mind on the things that are important to you, because it's easy to get sidetracked in life in general. So all the reminders that you can have definitely help. So setting up a nice environment. Just moving on, they talk about some people's lives in here, kind of throughout the book, that help to kind of illustrate their points that they're giving, which definitely helps. It's nice to see these attributes in people's lives. So that's why I enjoy reading autobiographies of famous people or people that I'd like to emulate. So it helps to just kind of see it in action. Having a mastermind group, and I think that comes out of the work of Napoleon Hill with Think and Grow Rich, which is a great book. If you've never read that, I would highly recommend that one. But that's pretty much this book. All in all, it's a great book. I would recommend it. Anybody that wants to kind of start over, start from scratch, just see where they're at in their life and where they want to be. So this is an all-encompassing book. It talks a lot about bucket lists, why they're important, how to set up your life for success. So it's not just a bucket list book, but it's also kind of the steps that would help you to reach that bucket list as well. So it's a pretty good book, all in all. I enjoyed it. I've read some of this stuff. I've come across some of these ideas before, most of these ideas before, but it was nice to see them all at play in one book. So, great book.